Alright, we're watching first. Let's watch Cortney. So this is doing jerks for reps, right?
Yeah, for 5.
5 here? Alright. So one of the big things we're working on here is where Cortney's, well, for one, what foot Cortney's putting down first. Before what was happening is you can kind of see, drive is pretty straight here. You can see as she descends, you descend all the way down, your hips kind of, they don't really come forward that much, a tiny bit. Really subtle, probably not super significant, but the weight is kind of forward over your foot already here, so it stays out in front of you a little bit. And what was happening before is Cortney was really planting that front foot down. You can see it here. Her front foot comes down really soon. And my theory is that you're putting your feet down early because you're trying to press on the bar with your arms, and you can sense when you're trying to press on something, you sense you need some kind of stability to press against it. So you're putting that foot down as hard as you can, as fast as you can, so you can push your arms into the bar, because it feels like it's not going to be high enough, or for whatever reason, or habit. And so you end up putting the front foot down right away, and then of course doing that's going to give you this foundation to push on the bar, but then you're going to end up pushing yourself back a little bit. And that's what happens at heavier weights. This is light enough that you're able to kind of make it, but we can see the error here, right? Front foot comes down. Boom, she has this like anchor. She starts pushing against the bar, trying to get her head through a little bit too late. That's, one of the things we're working on with your technique is getting you to be more aggressive about putting your back foot down, but also separating the landing, separating the split from your arms. Try not to use your arms while you're splitting, right? It's a drive, a split, and then an action with the arms. So, these were getting a little better as we went throughout the week too. Right? Yeah, this is probably the worst set of the week. But that's the biggest thing we're trying to work on. So ideally what we want to see is that the back foot's coming down first, or at least they're coming down together. They're clearly not happy with that. Yeah. And the back foot's coming down, front foot's coming down, and the bar's landing in the same position over your hips that you drive it from, rather than your head landing back and then coming through at the top. So the next thing Cortney did, which was an exercise, a complex we did to try and help her in the snatch. One high pull plus one snatch. One of the big things we worked on is keeping the bar close to your shins, right? So when your start position is set, you're really, really solid off the floor. As soon as you start moving, the bar starts moving. This is a good set. And you can come back. Right here, you start moving. Bar starts moving, bar is close to you, your knees come back, it's really good. You're still a little bit early here, see the knees shifting under a little bit too soon, but not, it's going to happen more because of the way your body is built, your shorter legs, longer torso, you're going to get under the bar a little bit sooner. But we're trying to mitigate that a little bit so you have a little more explosion at the top. Makes good contact, the bar comes up. This right here is kind of an inefficient action, because once you connect here, you're moving up and the bar's moving up together. See how the two of you guys are moving? It's the bar is still going upward and you're still going up. We would want that to be a little more you staying on the ground longer and the bar leaving your hips, and then the action you can just follow the bar with your arms. But overall, clearly you have plenty of height on the bar. It's pretty lightweight for you. Next thing, you come down and do a snatch. Try to mimic the exact same start position, same action. Bar comes up, stays nice and close. Better position than the pull even. A little bit later too there, and you bring it into your hips. Explosion. This time here is what you're usually actually very fast under the bar. I think with a lighter weight, you're a little bit. You wait a little bit longer here, but when the bar comes off your hips, this time we would want to eliminate, because that gives you more, you're going to move under the bar faster while the bar is still moving upward. but overall pretty good in the snatch. We did also work on Courtney's overhead position. So later we actually worked on your overhead position, kind of turning your arms into the right position. You wouldn't see that here though. Pretty good. How'd that feel? The pull plus snatch.
That one, that day wasn't so great.
Not so great?
No, because it was the first day coming back.
Oh right, yeah, coming back, getting in shape again. Colin on Monday did some front squat plus jerk. Wednesday. That's all the same day, really. It all blends together. 3 front squat plus a jerk. It's a real amateur deal we got going on here. So there's that one. Let's play the next one. When you set up for the front squat, and what something's worked on with Colin a lot is the position of his body links over his base of support. So when he sets up, you can kind of see how he's putting his body weight like basically right in front of his shin here, right? The center of balance would probably feel somewhere in that range, right? Maybe a little bit forward of that, maybe a tiny bit back, but right here, not way back on his heels at all. And as soon as he starts to descend, he's going to bend his knees and his hips drop straight down, right? His knees go forward over his foot, his ankle is supporting that. Perfect front squat. From here, brings his feet in, just like you would on a clean, which is also really important. Watch his feet, they come in. After he cleans, or after what would be like a clean, he brings his feet in to set up for the jerk. Again, he sets his posture for the start position of the jerk. In doing this, he sets up, same thing, weights towards the front of his foot here. His hips are set slightly back, and his chest is out, so the bar is in the right spot. This allows him, when he bends his knee, you'll be able to see that his hips stay back. If this is the good one, his hips stay back and his knee goes forward. You could imagine that the center of his femur, somewhere in that range, is going to be like the hub of a wheel, and allows his hips to move back and his knee to go forward, keeping his body centered over his foot. If he put his weight all the way on his heel and he bent back, or he bent his knee, he'd end up driving everything in front of him, or his hip would have to curl under him to get himself to stay in that position, and then the bar is not going to go in a predictable place. So we can watch. Right, that set was better than the last. Okay, so start position is good. His hips stay back, right? His hips look like they're basically coming back, they're essentially in the exact same plane they started. His knees bend. Might be a tiny bit forward there, but it's not really something you're not gonna chase that down too much. Finishes the drive. Nice timing. His arms are really well timed. It could actually be a little bit later, but does a great job. Stabilizes it and is good.
I think that little bit forward position is probably just because he did 3 front squats before.
Yeah, he might be a little bit tired. I mean, it's also like, not everybody's built the same, you know. Colin's torso is, not the same size as someone who's like Q is already like standing in that position, right? And so it's like it's going to look a little more pronounced with her. Everybody stands a little bit differently, and it's hard to say exactly why. It's obviously something, as it gets heavier, if that continues to move forward, then we would really start to look at fixing it. But if it's always in the same place, just happens to be at that angle, then we would just leave it, I think. There's no need to really change much of that. But his jerk has really improved a lot. I mean, it's a really solid jerk. Nice timing. Really stable, too. One thing, Colin was not always super stable in his jerks, and that has been a big improvement for him. This was yesterday, Friday. What is this, 160 kilos?
Yeah.
So, here's Colin snatching. Pretty routine 160. He had a bunch of reps, had a lot of reps before this one, at like 150, 155. Great timing. really like a nice textbook snatch. Let's slow it down. Colin snatches with his toes in, which is definitely different than most people.
They're straightforward.
Yeah. That's a 5-1. You're wrong there.
I know that Quinn has talked about the way that Colin squats,
Yeah.
the way his knee moves, because he's very, I think, internal rotation bias
Yeah.
in his hip. Whatever's the opposite of the majority of people.
Yeah, he's internal for sure.
Call him the hipster hip.
Yeah.
He wants to do
Yeah.
it than everyone else.
Whatever everyone else is doing, Colin's doing the opposite. Comes up off the ground. This position is really nice. He's over the bar well. His weight is back a little bit further on his heel. He's obviously, this position is probably a little better than where we saw like Cortney before, but Colin is. They're both excellent snatchers, American record level for sure, but just different styles, different body types. So you can see the difference, right? Colin's a lot more over the bar. His legs are straighter. His second pull, the initiation of his explosion, happens a little bit later. This one was a little bit rough, but it's not rough, but not as good as some of his bigger snatches when he's snatching much more frequently. Brings the bar in. This is a great position here. This is what people would call like the power position. He's going to explode from here. Bar goes up. You know, of course, really good timing. Receiving the weight in a really good spot. This is actually a big improvement for Colin too, this position, because now he's in the same position he should squat from, which is shins forward, knees over the foot. He's slightly internally rotated in his femur, so it's kind of rolled inside, if you can understand that, and his knee is rolled forward. So a lot of the pressure is on the inside of his foot. He's not landing on his heel, and he's landing completely upright under the bar. This is like the same position you'd see like Ilya Ilin in. Ilya's knees might even be a little further forward, but that's perfect. And you can see it's perfect because there's no wobbling, there's nothing wrong, he stands right up. Really nice. That was a good little training lift for him going into, you know, the last few weeks or 9 weeks or whatever of American Open training. Here's Pomp. This is Monday. This is a really good day for Pomp in terms of his training's been good on Mondays. 150 double attempt here. Best snatch ever is 1656. So this is like near maximum. This is actually this might be considered a PR single with a mustache. So
You're a single mustache.
Yeah.
Day.
Really good. I mean, nice, very solid snatch. I wouldn't expect Pomp to be really, really fast right now, or really any of the lifters, because they're because you know all the volume everyone's doing, especially some of the harder squatting, and you know some heavier pulling. Just in general, being kind of beat up, being kind of slower. So the only real reason he's not successful on that second one is just a little bit of speed on the turnover. What kind of play here? Breathing down onto that stash, getting it ready. Cleans it off with his tongue. Comes up. Solid. This is a really good position here. Shins are vertical, over the bar. Patient. He starts the second pull a little later. He's a little bit away from the bar there. This is something you kind of see with people whose backs are a lot stronger than their legs. When he gets to his knee here, there's a second motion where his knee moves back even further. You can see it there, right? His knee moves back. It's good, but the bar would his chest should be like a tiny bit higher to keep the bar closer to him. His lat should be tighter, right? It just kind of looses a little bit, and he gets a little bit. The mass of his body, right here, everything behind the shoulder, this area, is slightly further behind the bar than it is right at his kneecap. So it comes up. You see how the bar's next to his knee. It's not the best video, but as he comes up, it kind of moves backward even further and then puts all that pressure on his low back. He's clearly strong enough to hold it through this position. Starts the second pull a little bit late. Comes forward a little bit to the bar, but a ton of height on the bar for 150 for how high Pomp actually needs to fix the weight. Just a little bit off. Still a great stash, still nice there.
Kid behind you, unimpressed.
This guy doesn't give a fuck
He
about
tripled
anything.
it right after.
Rutger, multiple-time Olympian, right? Medalist, maybe?
Three-time Olympian.
Three-time Olympian is just in awe. This guy's like, I could give a shit less what this dude with the mustache is doing in front of me.
Yeah, fuck this mustache.
Yeah.
See how cool my hair is.
Yeah, if Pomp kind of hopped back on that one too, right? So everything's a tiny bit off, hops back a little bit. Had he, you can see too, he's had some trouble with his left knee. You can watch his left foot kind of doesn't come down properly. It comes down, then it kind of comes back up. A little bit of hesitation there. But overall, just, you know, you can nitpick it and tear it apart and say it's like this or that. I think just a little bit more speed, a little bit more on the top, he would have really made that one. That would have been a big PR.
Your Rutger's face.
Rutger again, caring, not caring. His face,
I just punched
his face doesn't. His face doesn't change the entire time. Look at him. Just doesn't give a fuck.
And he just staring
Single,
straight into Pump's
nothing.
butthole.
He's over it. He's over it. Really good attempt though. Yeah, a little bit more aggressive, a little tighter lat, bringing it into his hips a little harder. Would have been perfect, a little more speed. But you really can't get any closer than that. Any closer would have been, you know, 2 red lights. So, really good attempt. On Wednesday,
It's a good shot at the snatch.
another fantastic mustache avenue here, this platform. Pomp took a little bit lighter weights. He was a little beat up, so we went lighter in a clean and jerk. He was going to do a double here at 155. Pretty routine, really obviously easy weight because it's basically a snatch weight. Everything looking good. He felt better. This is his last set. Trying to set up for the jerk. His jerk has improved a lot. He's taken a lot of stuff that, you know, has worked for him, I think, that he likes. I mean, moving his feet in. He used to try and stay really wide on his feet, and he would be almost there when he jerked, but now he's bringing them in more, which I like. I don't know if you feel like they help you or not, Pomp, but
I just do it for your satisfaction.
you just do it for me, so, okay. I like it. I told him to do a 4th rep just because, you know, he's Pomp. And he's good for it. He'll always do it, no matter what happens to his mustache. But overall, pretty routine. I mean, you're not going to do a lot of sets of 4 in a clean and jerk. So, pretty good. I mean, he catches it wide. He's always caught it wide. Catching it more narrow might make it easier, but it's hard to say. I mean, you develop so much strength in those positions that you know, changing it this late in someone's career might have might be just an awkward change, right? He's going to be more comfortable catching it wide. He probably gets a little lower too. And ultimately, if his leg strength can support that position, catching it lower is a bigger advantage than catching it stronger, because you can lift more weight if you catch it lower. Pretty routine. This group was way more excited, except Cortney. I mean, JP got in his knees to come watch it. He was just all about that lift. All right, so that was pretty solid week of training, some good lifts. We also had a special appearance midweek.
Gym record.
A new gym record. Chad Wesley Smith, Snatch Wesley Smith, deciding that it was just time to do a big muscle snatch. Annual muscle snatch?
This biannual.
Maybe biannual?
The week
So-
after Big Dogs, you better believe there's going to be something going down.
Yeah. Chad's been training solely for this event for the last 3 years. The 110 muscle snatch. 110 muscle snatch for height. Yeah, so let's all break this down here.
Let's give some real muscle snatch analysis to help.
I'm going to, yeah. So right here, start position. Yeah, very Iranian start position here.
It's actually
It's really good.
Yeah.
Positions, you know. Patient, a little early there. Wow. So Chad's coming up, probably because he's so strong.
His legs aren't that strong, so he's shifting towards his back.
Yeah. He's actually coming forward. So we always do. I mean, most not always. A lot of times, people when we start someone with a muscle snatch, it's always no contact. You don't make contact with the body, and generally without a hook grip. And so what's going on here is the bar is pretty far away from him for no contact. So he's using predominantly just his upper back, clearly because he's floating in this position. Neither him nor the 110 kilos in his hands are on the ground here. Pretty good extension. Okay, so right here, when you do a muscle snatch, I've heard it's been explained to Pomp before that some people teach a muscle snatch in which I guess you keep the elbows as high as possible. You never
Elbows higher than the shoulders.
You never let the elbow drop below the shoulder in a muscle snatch, which seems physically impossible. But I guess in this case, in Chad's case, he actually was able to do pretty much that. Two very important points here. One, the bar is closer now. It's close here. He keeps his elbows high. He doesn't actually. If we look at his wrist, he never really bends his wrist. It stays.
There's no break.
It stays pretty much straight here, and watch. Straight, 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 straight. Only turning at the elbow, shoulder. That wrist is still straight. There's 110 kilograms of force acting on that scaphoid joint bone right there. Then he finally kind of breaks it.
And
And
the nip. Look at the nip.
yeah, the hip is broken.
No, the nip.
Oh, his nipple. Yes, Pomp, he has a nipple. Cranks it over, obviously presses it out with incredible ease. And just the look of complete satisfaction having won the gym record. But yeah, the other thing is that when you're doing a muscle snatch, obviously, from the knee through here, we want to see a lot more of a extension of the body. And once he locks his knees, they don't bend again. He actually, I don't know. You know, on further review, this is almost a power snatch with 3 red lights for press out. Kind of comes back down, turns it over, and presses it out. We'll give it to him because he owns the gym.
Entertainment's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Javier.
Yeah, Javier could care less also. Maybe it's just this seat. If you're sitting here, you just don't care.
Hey, Javier's just fucking jealous.
Yeah. Oh.
Or what is he
Also
looking at?
potential.
Will those be allowed to be used?
Javier
Seriously,
actually,
look
you
at
know, Javier had a great snatch day. He snatched a PR 105. That was pretty nice that day.
Well, he's mad at Chad
Yeah,
for beating him.
that's
And then he
Jealous.
probably because he's fucking livid that Chad just muscle snatched his best, plus 5
Plus
kilos.
5.
Pretty good. Overall, not bad. Not half good, not half bad.
It looks better at speed up, though.
Yeah,
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 it's better.
Plus, he's wearing Sperry's. I mean, come on.
yeah.
You think
Much
Nick
nicer.
can do that in Sperry's?
Much nicer. He actually took his shoe off to tie it. It was a brilliant strategy. The big man don't bend over to tie their shoes.
Hold on, I can find it.
Then
Pretty
those
good.
For suckers.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good weekend training. Overall, yeah. The next. Ooh, what's going on? Oh, there it is.
There
Yeah.
it is.
That was pre 110 muscle snatch.
Gotta make sure they're laced up good.
Yeah. Nice and tight.